Good morning, Max. You're inside the locker room. How you doing?
Hey, Max.
Hey, guys. How y'all this morning?
We're doing good.
Hope the signal's a little bit better. I moved to a new spot. I tried to get a new party line put in over the weekend and hope it worked.
Well, you're sounding good right now.
Yeah,
you're pumping.
Sounding good.
You're pumping.
I want to ask you this question. Based on guys who are trying not to be negative and just trying to be seeing what happens here, based on guys that thought they were going to be in the first round, very good players. It doesn't really, not going in the first round this time and dropping to the second, regardless. Don't you think in the future that as these agents talk to these kids behind the coaches' backs, as we know they do, that they point this out, trying to get them to go on and go after the junior year? I think it does.
Yeah, I think it does too. I mean, look, we know, and we talked a little bit about it last week, that from the ownership standpoint, they'll do anything to try to drive that price down. Even though we know those slots that that draft picks are slotted, but and I know you're making reference to Tunsil and some of the stuff that's happened with him, and I think rightly so. I mean, he made a foolish mistake, and of course his website was hacked or his Facebook page was hacked. But
I'm making reference to Alabama's players as well.
Yeah, well, I know some of those did, but it goes across the board, Coach. Wherever they can find to make that. But look, you fool with guys that went to the NBA. You know how that works. It's really that next contract or two is where it is. But of course, the agent has got a lot to do with it. The way they present themselves, the way you handle yourself on the interview. You got some kids won't run at the combine. Some rather quarterbacks want to throw to their wide receivers on whatever they can find. But I do agree with you. I think a lot has to do with what the agent tells those guys. No longer because it's so competitive, man. The money's so big. Can you just assume because you had a great collegiate career that you're going to go automatically to the in the first round?
Well, my point is, before Barry gets to you, is this. Prior to this year, they've been able to show why you should stay at Alabama another year.
Right.
Okay. Showing this year with people falling to number 2, you don't see that quite as much in the years to come.
Well, it does, but I think too. I think the further we go, as we go year to year, there's a lot of outside influence on those kids' decisions. We know that family, whatever, and I think they'll point out in their defense, even if you had fallen from 1 to 2 and it cost you several $1 million, there was still money left on the table. It's a better job than you'll ever get anywhere. And if you really want to make the good money and the big money, you got to have a good career, and that's why you got to keep yourself straight. You got to perform, and you got to play by the rules. And I think that's the definition you'll use to try to keep if kids come out anyway. I know you want to try to keep them. Don't get me wrong. I understand that, but I just feel like maybe I'm too negative with this thing. Those kids, most of them, if they're good enough, they come from impoverished backgrounds. A lot of them do. They're gonna take the money. I don't care if they do fall from second to third or wherever. The kid at Mississippi State fell to the 4th round, and I think that was a surprise to a lot of people. But Prescott, had a pretty good collegiate career, but he's just had some things that didn't work for him to get him in the second or third, where I think a lot of people had him projected first.
Max, we had a great writer here in town, Cecil Hurd, on last week. He said something that I didn't think about, but I think he's right. Other than quarterback, we know quarterback's probably the most important position in the NFL. But he was talking about the defensive line. He said the NFL game is so different. They throw so much and everything's predicated on passing the ball and not stopping the run as much because NFL teams don't run the ball as much. Or is the defensive line, is that a primary position in the NFL, or is an offensive line, maybe supersede the defensive line? And you also got to have great defensive backs. But what are the most important positions in the NFL they look for that are the hardest to get?
The last chart I saw, quarterbacks are going to go first. If you don't stay on the offensive side, that left tackle, offensive tackle is going to go because 95% of the quarterbacks and 99% of them are right-handed. That means if they're under the center, they're going to turn it back to the left side. So you got to have a good, strong left tackle to keep getting blindsided. Because a lot of them go to the shotgun now, and that helps, I think, a little bit. Then from there, cornerbacks are probably on the defensive side the most important part. You got to have great corners that can turn and run and do a lot of man coverage. But I'm gonna say a good rush in. Maybe not so much the defensive tackle, because that's all they do. They're gonna get double on particularly a 3-man front, and in particular on 4 as well. They'll get double a lot of times to stop the rush. But you get a good rush in. That's a premier position, and I think that now falls into. And guys, if you go back and look, that's where a lot of the money's predicated on the quote importance has been deemed by somebody the importance of that position. I know slotting in the first contract is where it's going to be anyway. But man, I'm going to tell you, those second and third contracts, whether it be 2 or 3 years, whatever the number of years, it's going to be based on performance. But those positions carry a lot of weight, I can tell you.
Max, being over there in Mississippi, there's a lot of talk about the NCAA now, Laremy Tunsil, they just wish he would have he just opened up he brought them back to campus. When they come to campus, how serious is this situation over there? I know you got some inside sources over there in Mississippi. There is a special assistance fund that can help with some things maybe there that people don't know about. You and Dad and I do know about. But how serious is this situation in Ole Miss?
Well, I think the whole thing, and I just read an article this morning that came out of Oxford yesterday, saying that it's going to be predicated on what kind of paperwork they did. They've already declared that's where the money came from. It wasn't a lot of money. It's not $410 or whatever. And if they can document that, and if that's all they find. But I'm going to tell you guys, when that all came up last summer, is when it all started. Well, it actually started when he was recruited. But if in fact that's all. And at that time, that was all the NCAA said that they could put their hands on with him. That and he set out 7 ball games. I made the statement on the air over here at the local station. I said, if I was coaching a guy as good as he is now, I'm going to tell you, don't miss the take what I'm going to say. The guy's as good as I've seen in years. Yeah. When he played, the whole team played better. But the fact is there was so much smoke surrounding that. I'm not real sure I would have ever put him back on the field. I'd have probably just kept him off, because the team was playing well, and of course Kelly was doing an outstanding job. The running game was picked up a little bit. The defense was playing really, really, really good, particularly when they were at full complement. So I think a lot of people, but I think in their defense today, they being Ole Miss feels that they've got all the documentation, and it's going to probably cost them a couple of scholarships, maybe a couple of official visits next year, maybe take 1 or 2 coaches off the road recruiting, but it'll be just a slap on the hand. And that's their interpretation as we know it today.
Well, it looks to me like that, and I'm sure they do, but the entire staff, from the water boy all the way through the guy that makes the most, has to have a knowledge of where you can go and get money and sign for it now. You didn't have that when I was coaching or when Coach Bryant was coaching.
No.
You couldn't get you had $15 a month. You couldn't get your break. You couldn't get anything. And you just had to cheat your way through it if you had to. So,
that's right.
If you had to, that's what you had to do.
Oh Lord, here comes it.
But that's what a person would have to do. That's what a person would have to do.
That was what it was all about.
That's what it was all about for all coaches everywhere. The guy, if the guy was starving to death, and it was a mess. So my point is, I think they need to have an understanding. All of them is where they go to get what money they can and get it documented, so that there won't be anything illegal done.
I think this will open some eyes to that very process. Because I'll be honest with you, not only the most people don't know about that discretionary fund, but I would almost dare say most athletes that play don't know about it. Yeah. They just don't. It's just one of those things. And I think part of that is it has evolved was kind of self-protection. They didn't want kids running in there getting $100 or whatever. If you remember, it all started when they talk about paying stipends to players. That's when it all evolved. That was a way to help these kids out, particularly with problems at home when they're away, couldn't have a job, couldn't do anything else. That was when it actually came into play. Of course, now the stipend talk has died down. We don't hear much about it, and maybe the fund itself at the different universities. But here's the thing and I'm sure that there are stipulations and ceilings on how much they can get and how much they can take. But few people know that. I mean, I'm sure the inside folks, that the administration would understand what it is, and the financial aids guy would do. But a lot of people and players themselves have no clue.
Well, you know what? You're right. We had that in South Carolina, and they don't tell the whole team about it because then there's only so much in that fund. So then if they do, everybody's running over to the compliance officers trying to get this, that, and the other. Now, they'll pull the special ones to the side, i.e. the ones with talent and need, and try to help those guys out. But a lot of compliance people are so lazy about it, they don't want to deal with it because there's a lot of paperwork that goes through. They got to get the receipts, all kind of stuff, and they just really would rather the kids not know about it. I know people be surprised about that, but I have found that to be true.
Part of my job, I know when I was at Ole Miss, was I had to deal with the Pell Grant situation. See, there's another source there for financial deprived, and that was one of my major responsibilities. Those kids that filled out all that, when they signed a scholarship, if we thought they qualified, and you pretty well know when you visit them. I already had a predetermined list when I ran the recruiting office over there, so I pretty well knew. And there'd be some that could qualify, but that's another thing that a lot of schools and a lot of not only compliance officers but financial aids people, they don't want to fool with that either.
Yeah. Hey, Rhett Lashley, obviously the offensive coordinator at Auburn, he got a great tweet out. I don't know if it's true, but I agree with the tweet. He said almost 90% of the NFL draft picks played multiple sports in high school. Don't buy into specialization trap. Enjoy high school. Develop competitive skills. I think that's one thing Urban Meyer looks for. He wants guys that play all the sports. He wants a guy that's competitive. Do you think that's important to play multiple sports in high school, Max?
I absolutely do. I mean, I've coached at both levels, and I can tell you, particularly in smaller schools, you've got to have those good athletes. I just picked up the paper yesterday. They had the all-state basketball team listed in the Tupelo paper from the state of Mississippi. 3 of those guys that made first-team all-state assigned football scholarships because they were good athletes. And I just think you have to, for survival of good sports at the high school level, I think, and then, of course, that transfers right over to the individual kid as well. Now, there's some, and I don't want to get into throwing in, but there's some, in particular, Auburn signed one a couple years ago that was he was kind of a big-time star in basketball and football, but it didn't work out too well for him at the college level. So, I've seen it both ways. But I absolutely agree 100%. I think those kids, if they have a chance, they need to play. They need to play multiple sports.
That
I don't really have. I was trying to think of something. I forgot what.
Well, I want to ask you, Max,
go ahead.
as you look at this NFL draft, the kids at Alabama, I think Dad hit on it, but a lot of those guys, did not go to the second round. They had a lot of guys drafted. Reggie Ragland, it sounds like he had maybe a little bit of a heart issue or enlarged heart, but Derrick Henry going to the Titans there, A'Shawn Robinson to me looks like a guy that will make you pay for not taking him high. Like he's like, okay, you took me 45, I'm fixing to show you. But did it surprise you that those guys did not go in the first round? Yeah,
but again, I think I've watched it so long, Barry. It really didn't shock me to a point. I mean, if you look at it, they can find reasons why. I mean, they in their mind, in the individual franchises, justify why they are. But see, they can all point back to Tom Brady. Went to the 7th round, and look what he's doing. I mean, that's the justification again. And I've been dealt with them, off and on for a long time. Those guys really need a way to prove themselves. And I know the money's important. But all those slots are, again, I keep saying that that dollar amount is slotted in there wherever they go. But they make their big money on that second, third contract if they, if they're good enough, if they perform it, keep their nose clean.
That's people. A guy tell me he thought Saban was mad about those kids not going because it was almost kind of, Ryan Kelly didn't even go, Derrick Henry didn't go. Those kids went because all the information they got back said they were going to be a first-round pick. It's kind of for those kids to sit there. The camera keeps going on them. They don't get picked. So some people said that he was pretty frustrated about that maybe they didn't get the right information back from the NFL. That those kids went and sat there and had to go through that and not get picked. I think Ashawn maybe went first. They said he went back to the room to wait with the other two guys before they were drafted. So that says something about him right there. But do you think Nick Saban probably frustrated that those kids didn't?
He had to spend another night in New York.
I think Nick came on back. He had a little bit going on with Bo Davis.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt it does, because remember he and that staff used that as a recruiting tool. That kind of reaches further than just the kids themselves, an embarrassment, but it kind of talks a little embarrassment. Starts with the individual kid, then it goes to the program, then it goes to recruiting. So I can understand why, because that takes a strong tool away from. Well, I had 5 guys went in the first round. I mean, I've been on the road and visited with guys that's been told that to before. So I understand that. But look, he understands the system as well as anybody, and he knows, and he'll adjust to that. And I don't think overall it'll affect him down the road. They still going to get the top players in the country, and they know that if they come to Alabama, they got a chance to get to the next level.
Hey, in a roundabout way, can I knock Tennessee in a roundabout way in a very coy?
Hey, didn't I do that last week?
In a very coy way by saying, we're here to visit with you. I know Tennessee's talked to you. They didn't have anybody drafted this past year.
Again,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Urban Meyer, he was walking around jerking his pants up. Every time he couldn't even go get a drink of water, he kept getting them drafted.
Yeah.
So Ohio
I'm
State.
gonna tell you guys, I went through 8 or 9 preseason polls last night, and we talked Tennessee. I saw Tennessee ranked anywhere 4 to 24. So I still say that Tennessee has some problems. I think Butch has done a good job in elevating their talent level, but they aren't yet there yet. They still got some depth problems. They still got probably some disciplinary problems, until they straighten out whatever else is going on in that campus up there. But I think they got some sideline problems. I'll tell you, for whatever reason. I don't like to knock it, but it's evident. When you're up by 17 going into the fourth quarter, you ought not to lose a ball game. And that was an identical thing that the way they opened the season last year with Oklahoma. So, they lost to Florida. They shouldn't have lost to Florida. So I'm just saying that Tennessee themselves, I think they're going to be a strong second or third in the SEC East this next year. I'm going to tell you again, if Del Rio is the quarterback at Florida, Florida wins the East.
All right, Max, tell us about those websites. I know they got to be buzzing with everything going on over here in Mississippi and over here in Alabama. Seems like the NCAA crawling around makes a website buzz. I don't know what that is about it.
Well, the next thing they're going to do, they stop the satellite camp. Well, they're going to let them have the satellite camp, but SEC's voting against that. They'll be wanting to slam us a little bit for our websites, I think. But ours is a free message board. GameDayBama.com is a website. We got GameDayAL.com. We're going to probably turn that into a lot of stuff from high schools later in the fall. But right now, Game Day Bama is really on fire for us. And in Mississippi, we got Game Day MISS, Game Day Miss, with Game Day Rebels, where we're doing Ole Miss. But Alabama and Ole Miss right now are the hottest things going for us. It's a free message board. We ask you to jump on there, make a comment. We feel like by the fall, it's going to really explode. And by Media Day in July, we're coming out with our last big one this year. Will be GameDaySEC.com, where we'll cover the whole SEC.
Hey, Max.
Yes, sir.
Who's going to win the Oklahoma-Houston game, the opening season?
Well, Big Bob Stoops, big game Bob. He's got a chance, but Houston's going to be pretty good now. I got to go with Oklahoma.
Yeah,
in that ball game.
What do you mean? Come on! What do you mean? Come on, Barry?
Houston gonna beat Oklahoma.
Hey, they'll throw over them.
Okay. You
I'm just saying he's good. Bob is good at the beginning of the season. We just go back and check his record. Where he stumbles all the time is mid to late season. He does that every once
I'll
year.
I'll take Oklahoma straight up. You name the number.
The best teams around Baylor and Houston.
Yeah, they don't.
Well, I'm telling you, I looked at enough polls last night that it's hard to really define. But all those right now that's got Clemson and Alabama and Ohio State, and Florida State probably are going to be the top 4 or 5 teams in the country.
Baylor.
And I'm going to hang.
Ole Miss going to beat Florida State, aren't they?
Baylor's defensive
No,
staff
not
and team, they meet in trailers, so they don't stay in there very long.
Baylor's another one. Baylor's another one's going to be like Oregon. You wait and see.
Baylor, they don't play. They don't even have a defense. Or I think they go to a trailer.
They don't, and they can't play physical.
They throw over. Baylor will throw over y'all. They'll throw over you.
Okay, all right, we got to go. We got to get out of here. Baylor, please. Thanks, Max.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you.
Thank you.